The warning alarms screamed through the ship like angry animals. Sarah Chung gripped her captain's chair as sparks flew from the control panels around her. The lights flickered on and off, casting wild shadows across the bridge of her exploration ship, the Meridian. "Engine failure," shouted her engineer Marcus. "The fusion core is going critical." Sarah's heart raced. They were alone in the Kepler 442 system, far from any human outpost. The nearest help was 3 months away. If their engines died here, they would be stranded in empty space. "Emergency shutdown," Sarah ordered. "All power to life support." The ship shuddered like a wounded beast. Then, everything went quiet except for the soft hum of the backup power systems. Sarah looked at her crew of 12 people. Their faces were pale with fear. "How bad is it?" she asked Marcus. He shook his head. The fusion chamber cracked. "We have no main power. Emergency power will last maybe 2 days." Sarah closed her eyes. She had been a ship captain for 8 years, but nothing had prepared her for this. They were going to die out here, and no one would ever know what happened to them. "There's a moon nearby," said Jenny, her navigator. "It has an atmosphere. We could land there." "Do it," Sarah said. "At least if we crash, someone might find our wreckage someday." The landing was rough. The ship fell through the thin atmosphere of the small moon like a burning rock. Sarah felt her teeth rattle as they hit the ground hard. The hull cracked in several places, but they were alive. Outside, the moon was a gray wasteland under a pale orange sky. The air was thin but breathable. Their ship's emergency beacon was working, but it was weak. It could only reach about 1 light year away. "How long can we survive?" Sarah asked. Marcus checked their supplies. "If we ration everything, maybe 2 weeks. The water recycler is damaged." Sarah stood outside the broken ship and looked up at the alien stars. She was 28 years old. She had always dreamed of exploring space, of finding new worlds. Now she was going to die on one. Days passed slowly. The crew tried to repair the ship, but the damage was too severe. They sent distress signals into space, but heard nothing back. The silence was crushing. On the 4th day, Jenny was monitoring their weak radio when she suddenly sat up straight. "Captain, I'm getting something." Sarah ran to the radio. Through the static, she heard a voice speaking in a strange language. It sounded like musical notes mixed with clicking sounds. "It's not human," Jenny said, "but it's definitely intelligent." Sarah grabbed the microphone. She had studied alien languages at the academy, though she had never actually met any aliens. "This is Captain Sarah Chun of the Earth ship Meridian," she said slowly. "We are stranded and need help." The alien voice replied. Sarah could not understand the words, but the tone sounded friendly. Then the voice switched to broken English. "Human ship, we hear you. We are Thylorians. We come to help." 2 hours later, a small silver ship landed near the Meridian. Sarah watched through her broken window as a ramp lowered from the alien vessel. 3 creatures walked out. They looked like tall, thin deer that walked on 2 legs. Their skin was covered in short, soft fur that was light brown with darker spots. Their heads were long and graceful, with large black eyes that seemed very intelligent. They moved slowly and carefully, as if they did not want to frighten anyone. The leader approached Sarah's ship. Through the radio, the alien spoke. "I am Dr. Vex High. We are scientists studying this system. Are you injured?" Sarah opened her ship's door and stepped outside. The alien was taller than her, maybe 7 feet, but seemed gentle. Dr. Vex High wore a simple white uniform with strange symbols on it. "Some of my crew are hurt," Sarah said, "and our ship is broken. We cannot leave." Dr. Vex High looked at the damaged Meridian. Their large eyes showed concern. "We have medical supplies," they said. and food. But our ship is small. We cannot take all of you. Sarah felt hope and despair at the same time. Can you send a message to human space? Our transmitter is not strong enough, Dr. Vexai said. But we can fix yours. Make it stronger. For the next week, the Thalarians worked day and night to help the humans. They shared their food, even though they ate different things. They treated the injured crew members with gentle care. Dr. Vexai and their team worked to boost the power of Sarah's distress. Beacon.Sarah learned that the Thalarians were peaceful, people who spent their time studying stars and planets. They had never been in a war. Their government had strict rules about not interfering with other species. Why are you helping us? Sarah asked Dr. Vexai one evening as they watched the alien sunset. Dr. Vexai was quiet for a moment. When someone needs help, you help them. This is what good people do. Your species or my species, it does not matter. But you could get in trouble with your government. Yes, Dr. Vexai said simply. But letting you die would be a greater trouble for my heart. On the 8th day, the boosted beacon worked. A message came back from a human patrol ship. They were coming to rescue Sarah and her crew, but it would take 2 weeks to reach them. Dr. Vexai could have left then. Their mission was already delayed, and they had their own work to do. But they stayed. They shared their supplies and kept the humans company during the long wait. When the human rescue ship finally arrived, Sarah stood with Dr. Vexai watching it land. How can I repay you? She asked. You saved our lives. Dr. Vexai's long face showed what might have been a smile. One helps when one can. No debt exists between friends. As Sarah prepared to leave with her crew, she turned back to the gentle alien who had risked everything to save them. I won't forget this, she said. Ever. Dr. Vexai touched their chest with a long, thin hand. And I will not forget that humans are people worth helping. Sarah did not know it then, but those words would change the galaxy. 5 years had passed since the rescue on that gray moon. Sarah Chun was no longer just a captain. She was now Admiral Chun, commanding the 3rd Fleet of the Terran Space Navy. But she had never forgotten the gentle aliens who saved her life. Every few months, she sent messages to Dr. Vexai. At first, it was just to say thank you again. But slowly, their conversations grew longer. They talked about their work, their worlds, and their dreams. Dr. Vexai was surprised by how much humans cared about debts and honor. You speak of owing us something, they wrote in one message. But saving lives is just what living beings should do. You owe nothing. But Sarah could not let it go. She studied everything about Thalarian culture. She learned their musical language, which sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. She read about their 3 small worlds, covered in vast gardens and peaceful cities. The Thalarians were plant-eaters who had never known war. They spent their time growing beautiful gardens, studying the stars, and creating art. Their science was far ahead of humans in some ways, especially in growing plants and understanding gravity. But they had no weapons, no armies, no way to fight. Your people are fascinating, Sarah told Dr. Vexai during one of their video calls. You have achieved something humans dream of, a truly peaceful society. Dr. Vexai's large eyes blinked slowly. Peace is easy when you have no enemies. Your species faces many dangers. We admire your courage. Sarah worked hard to create a formal friendship between their 2 species. It was not easy. Many humans were suspicious of aliens, even helpful ones. Some politicians wanted to take over Thalarian worlds for their resources, but Sarah kept pushing. She arranged for Thalarian scientists to visit Earth. She sent human doctors to help on Thalarian worlds when diseases struck their crops. Slowly, trust grew between the 2 species. The Thalarians were amazed by human loyalty. On their worlds, people helped each other. but they did not form the deep bonds that humans did. They did not understand why humans would risk their lives for friends, or why they felt so strongly about keeping promises. Dr. Veshai visited Earth when Sarah was promoted to admiral. They walked through the gardens of Earth's capital city, looking at the flowers that reminded them of home. "Your people are strange," Dr. Veshai said, but their tone was warm. "You remember every kindness. You feel responsible for people you have never met. It is beautiful, but also frightening." "Frightening?" Sarah asked. "Because it means you will fight for those you care about, even when fighting means death." Sarah nodded. "Yes, we will." Dr. Veshai was quiet for a long time. "We have lived in peace for so long, we forgot that sometimes peace must be protected." The friendship between their species grew stronger each year. Thalorian scientists shared their knowledge of gravity, helping humans build better spaceships. Their farming techniques helped feed hungry human colonies. In return, humans provided protection for Thalorian research ships and helped them mine metals from asteroids. But it was more than just trade. Human children learned Thalorian songs in school. Thalorian artists painted pictures of Earth's blue oceans. When Thalorian elder Zenthara was sick with a rare disease, human doctors worked for months to find a cure. Sarah often visited Dr. Veshai's laboratory on the Thalorian homeworld of Thylos Prime. The building was grown from living trees, shaped over decades to form rooms and hallways. Everything was soft curves and gentle light. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you had not stopped to help us?" Sarah asked during one visit. Dr. Veshai was working on a project to grow vegetables in zero gravity. They did not look up from their plants. "No," they said simply, "because we did stop. That is what matters." But Sarah thought about it often. One decision by one alien scientist had changed everything. Without Dr. Veshai's help, she would have died on that moon. There would be no friendship between their species, no shared knowledge, no protection for peaceful Thalorian ships. The galaxy was a dangerous place. Pirates attacked cargo ships. Slave traders kidnapped people from unprotected worlds. Military empires swallowed up smaller civilizations. But now the Thalorians had friends who remembered favors, news. Reports often mentioned how human patrol ships would drop everything to help Thalorian vessels in trouble. When raiders attacked a Thalorian research station, 3 human battleships arrived within hours to drive them off. "Why did they help us so much?" Young Thalorians would ask their elders. "Because once we helped one of them," the elders would reply. Dr. Veshai had grown older over the years. Their brown fur now had streaks of silver, and they moved more slowly. But their mind was still sharp, and they still wrote to Sarah regularly. "You have given us a gift we did not know we needed," they wrote in one letter. "Friends who will stand with us against the dark. We never thought we would need such friends, but the galaxy is changing." Sarah felt a chill when she read those words. Dr. Veshai rarely spoke of danger or darkness. Something was worrying them. She was right to be concerned. Far across the galaxy, a new power was rising. 4 aggressive species had joined together to form something they called the hegemony. Their message was simple: join us, serve us, or be destroyed. They had already conquered dozens of worlds. Their armies were strong, their technology was advanced, and they showed no mercy to those who resisted. And they were looking toward the peaceful systems where gentle species like the Thalorians lived quiet lives among their gardens and laboratories. Sarah did not know it yet, but the friendship forged on a gray moon was about to be tested in ways that would shake the galaxy. In his latest message, Dr. Veshai wrote, "I have been watching the news from the outer systems. Dark times are coming. I hope our friendship will survive whatever storm approaches." Sarah wrote back immediately, Whatever comes, we will face it together. That is what friends do. Neither of them knew how soon those words would be put to the test. The first reports came from the Outer Rim systems. Peaceful trading posts went silent. Research stations stopped answering their calls. When scout ships went to investigate, they found worlds under new management. The hegemony had arrived. Admiral Sarah Chun read the intelligence reports with growing alarm. 4 alien species had joined together to create this new empire. The Kredek were brutal warriors with thick armor and energy weapons. The Zephyrians were master pilots who flew ships like deadly dancers. The Gorthok were engineers who built massive war machines. The Vril were psychic manipulators who could break minds with their thoughts. Together, they were unstoppable. Their method was always the same. A hegemony fleet would arrive at a system and send one message: submit to the hegemony. Your resources, your people, your worlds now belong to us. Resist and be destroyed. Most species chose to submit. Those who fought were crushed quickly and completely. The hegemony did not believe in mercy. Sarah watched the star maps in her command center. Red markers showed hegemony territory, spreading like a disease across the galaxy. They had taken 47 systems in just 2 years, and they were heading toward the inner systems. Toward human space. Toward the Thylorian Republic. Sarah immediately sent a message to Dr. Vex High. Have you heard about the hegemony? We need to talk. The reply came quickly. Yes, our council is meeting to discuss this threat. But I fear there is little to discuss. A week later, Sarah met with the Thylorian High Council via secure video link. 12 elderly Thylorians sat around a living table grown from a single tree. Their faces showed worry and sadness. Admiral Chun, said Elder Morthus, the council leader, we thank you for your concern. But this matter is beyond help. What do you mean? Sarah asked. Elder Morthus gestured with a thin hand. We have 3 worlds and 2 million people. Our ships are built for research, not war. Our largest vessel carries mining equipment, not weapons. How can we fight an empire that has conquered worlds with armies? Sarah leaned forward. You don't have to fight alone. Humanity will stand with you. Another elder, Kassiri, shook their heads sadly. Kind Admiral, we would not ask humans to die for us. This is our burden. But we could evacuate your people, Sarah said. Bring them to human space until this threat passes. And abandon our homeworlds? Elder Morthus asked. Leave our gardens to burn, our cities to be destroyed? These are not just places to us. They are our children, grown over thousands of years. Dr. Vex High, who had been sitting quietly, finally spoke. Sarah, my friend, you do not understand. We are gardeners, not warriors. We have lived in peace so long that we have forgotten how to fight. Even if we had weapons, we would not know how to use them. Sarah felt frustrated. Then what will you do? The council was silent for a long moment. Finally, Elder Morthus answered. We will send a message to the hegemony. We will surrender our worlds peacefully. Perhaps they will let our people live as slaves rather than kill us all. No, Sarah said. You can't just give up. What choice do we have? Asked Elder Kassiri. We are farmers and scientists. They are conquerors. This is like asking flowers to fight a forest fire. Dr. Vex High looked directly at Sarah through the screen. We are grateful for all humanity has done for us. But this is beyond friendship. This is survival, and we choose to survive the only way we can. The transmission ended, leaving Sarah alone in her command room. She stared at the star map, watching the red markers of hegemony space creep closer to the blue dot that marked Thylos Prime. Over the next months, Sarah tried everything she could think of. She sent military advisors to help the Thylorians build defenses. They politely refused. Their people would not learn to kill. She offered to station human ships in their territory. They declined, not wanting to drag humanity into a war. "We have made our decision," Dr. Vexai explained in a private message. "When the time comes, we will surrender with dignity. It is better than watching our people die in a hopeless fight." Sarah felt sick. These gentle beings who had saved her life were choosing slavery over death because they could not imagine any other option. The end came sooner than expected. A massive hegemony fleet appeared at the edge of Thalorian space. 200 warships, bristling with weapons. Their message was broadcast on all frequencies. "People of the Thalorian Republic, you have 24 hours to surrender unconditionally. Your worlds, your resources, and your people now belong to the hegemony. Resistance is useless. Comply or be exterminated." Sarah received an urgent call from Dr. Vexai. Her old friend looked tired and defeated. "Sarah, I wanted to say goodbye. The Council has voted to surrender. In 1 hour, we will send our response to the hegemony." "Vexai, please," Sarah said. "Let us help you. Dear friend, we will not drag you into our doom. You have your own people to protect." Dr. Vexai paused. "But I want you to know, saving you on that moon was the best thing I ever did. Your friendship has been the greatest gift of my life." "This isn't over," Sarah said. Dr. Vexai smiled sadly. "Yes, it is. But that is acceptable. We chose to live as gardeners, not warriors. We cannot complain when the harvest time comes." After the call ended, Sarah sat alone in her quarters. Outside her window, stars sparkled in the darkness. Somewhere among those stars, the kindest people she had ever met were about to become slaves. She thought about that day on the gray moon when Dr. Vexai had risked everything to save a stranded human. One small act of kindness that had changed her life. Now it was time to return the favor. Sarah activated her command console and began typing orders. If the hegemony wanted the Thalorian Republic, they would have to go through the Terran Space Navy first, and Sarah was about to show them exactly what that meant. But first, she sent one final message to Dr. Vexai. "Remember what you told me about debts between friends? You were wrong. Some debts can only be paid with action. Hold on, old friend. Help is coming." Then she began making the calls that would bring a fleet. Admiral Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Terra's Pride, and looked at the message from Dr. Vexai one more time. "Dear friends of Earth, we face our end with the peace we have always cherished. Know that our friendship has been our greatest treasure. Do not risk yourselves for those already lost." The message had been sent to all human colonies and military bases. It was the Thalorians' farewell to humanity. They were giving up without asking for help, trying to protect their friends even in their darkest hour. Sarah's hand shook with anger. The hegemony had given the Thalorians 24 hours to surrender. Half that time was already gone. "Jenkins," she called to her communications officer. "Send an emergency message to Fleet Command. I'm requesting immediate permission to intervene in the Thalorian crisis." "Admiral," said her second-in-command, Captain Rodriguez, quietly, "the Thalorians have specifically asked us not to interfere. If we act without government approval, then we'll face court-martial." Sarah finished. "I know the risks." But even as she said it, Sarah was already composing another message. This one would not go to the politicians and bureaucrats at Fleet Command. This would go directly to every ship captain, every base commander, every human military officer within 6 sectors. The message was simple. "This is Admiral Sarah Chun. You all know the story of Thylos, how Dr. Vexai and the Thalorian Republic saved my crew 8 years ago. They risked everything for strangers, asking nothing in return. Today, the hegemony threatens to destroy these peaceful people. The Thalorians refuse to ask for help, because they do not want us to die for them. But some things are worth dying for. Some debts can only be paid with action. Remember Thylos. Remember what it means to help those who helped us. All ships able to reach the Thalorian system in 18 hours. Form up on my position. We're going to war. Sarah sent the message and waited. She was asking her fellow officers to risk their careers, their lives, and possibly the peace between humanity and the hegemony. She was asking them to follow her into a battle they might not survive. The first response came from Captain Williams aboard the destroyer Swift Justice. "Admiral, my ship is already changing course. See you at Thylos." Then more messages flooded in. The battleship Defiance is en route. Remember Thylos. Cruiser Squadron 7 reporting. We're coming, Admiral. This is the carrier Vigilance. Our fighters are already launching for the jump to Thylos. Within an hour, Sarah's communications board was lighting up like a celebration. Ships from across human space were abandoning their missions and heading for the Thalorian system. Not because they were ordered to, but because they wanted to. Captain Rodriguez stared at the tactical display in amazement. "Admiral, we're showing over 300 human ships converging on our position. This is insane." But it was not just military vessels. Civilian cargo ships were installing weapons from emergency stockpiles. Private yachts were joining up with destroyer squadrons. Even some of the massive civilian transports were coming, their holds full of refugees in case they needed to evacuate. Thalorian civilians. The story of Dr. Vexhi's rescue had become legend in human space. Every military academy taught it as an example of true honor. Every human child knew about the gentle aliens who had risked everything to save strangers. Remember Thylos had started as Sarah's desperate plea, but now she heard it being repeated on every channel, becoming a battle cry that united the human fleet. Admiral Hayes from the Second Fleet arrived with 47 ships and immediately requested permission to join Sarah's command. "I served under you 5 years ago, Admiral. If you're going to Thylos, then so am I." Admiral Kim from the Fifth Fleet brought another 62 vessels. "My daughter wrote a school report about Dr. Vexhi last year," she said. "How can I tell her that humanity forgot its friends?" Even ships from the outer colonies were coming. The mining station at Kepler 186 sent their 3 armed escort ships. The agricultural world of New Eden contributed their system defense force. Sarah watched the numbers climb. 400 ships. 500. 600. "Admiral," said Lieutenant Foster from the sensor station, "I'm reading massive hyperspace distortions. More ships are arriving." Through the view screen, Sarah watched the largest fleet in human history assemble around her flagship. Battleships, carriers, destroyers, cruisers, and hundreds of smaller vessels. The space around Terra's Pride looked like a metal forest, with ships stretching as far as the eye could see. Captain Rodriguez ran the final count. "Admiral, we have 847 ships. This is the largest military force humanity has ever assembled." Sarah felt a mixture of pride and terror. Pride that so many humans remembered what mattered. Terror at what they were about to face. "Sarah." The voice came from her private communication channel. It was Dr. Vexhi. "Vexhi? How did you get through our military channels?" "Your communications officer Jenkins gave me a direct line. He said any friend of yours is a friend of his." Dr. Vexhi's voice was filled with wonder. "Sarah, our long-range sensors are detecting your fleet. How many ships have you brought?" 847, Sarah said. There was silence for a long moment. "For us? For 3 small worlds of gardeners and scientists?" "For friends," Sarah said simply. "For people who help strangers on gray moons." Dr. Vexhi's voice was shaking. "Sarah, this is too much. We cannot ask you to risk so many lives." "You didn't ask," Sarah replied. We chose. That's what friends do. On the tactical display, Sarah could see the hegemony fleet at the edge of the Thalorian system. 200 warships, confident in their power. They had no idea what was coming for them. All ships. Sarah broadcast to the human fleet. We jumped to Thylos in 10 minutes. Remember why we're here. We fight not for territory or resources, but for the simple idea that kindness should be defended. That those who help strangers deserve to have friends stand with them when darkness comes. She paused, looking out at the massive fleet that had assembled from across human space. Remember Thylos. Remember what it means to be human. All ships, prepare for hyperspace jump. As the countdown began, Sarah thought about that day 8 years ago when she had been a stranded captain facing death on an alien moon. Dr. Veshai had risked everything to save her, asking nothing in return. Now it was humanity's turn to risk everything. The fleet jumped into hyperspace as one, carrying with it the hopes of 2 species and the promise that kindness would not go undefended. The hegemony fleet hung in space like a dark cloud around the 3 worlds of the Thalorian Republic. 200 warships, their hulls bristling with weapons, waited for the final surrender message from the peaceful planet dwellers below. Admiral Korthak of the Kretek led the hegemony forces. His thick armored hide bore the scars of 100 conquered worlds. To him, this was just another easy victory. The Thalarians had already agreed to surrender. All that remained was to accept their submission and claim their worlds. Status report, Korthak growled to his bridge crew. All ships in position, Admiral, replied his second-in-command. The target worlds show no military resistance. We detect only civilian vessels and research ships. Korthak nodded with satisfaction. Send a final demand. They have 1 hour to transmit their formal surrender. Or we begin bombardment. But as the message was sent toward Thylos Prime, strange readings began appearing on the hegemony sensors. Admiral, called the sensor officer, his voice uncertain. I'm detecting massive hyperspace disturbances. Something big is coming out of jump space. Korthak turned toward the main screen just as reality tore open in brilliant flashes of light. Ships began emerging from hyperspace. Dozens of them, then hundreds. The Terra's Pride dropped out of hyperspace first, followed by the massive carriers Vigilance and Retribution. Behind them came wave after wave of human vessels. Battleships emerged with their guns already trained on the hegemony fleet. Destroyer squadrons formed up in perfect attack formations. Fighter carriers launched their squadrons even before they had fully materialized in normal space. What is this? Korthak roared as more ships continued to appear. The human fleet stretched across space, like a metal wall between the hegemony and the Thalorian worlds. On the bridge of Terra's Pride, Admiral Sarah Chen watched the tactical display as her fleet completed its jump. 847 ships now faced the hegemony fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. She broadcast on an open channel that both fleets could hear. You are looking at the combined might of humanity. We are here to protect our friends. Hegemony fleet, you have 1 chance to withdraw peacefully. Admiral Korthak's reply came immediately. Human Admiral, you have no authority here. These worlds belong to the hegemony now. Withdraw or be destroyed. Sarah looked at the sensor readings showing the hegemony fleet. They had powerful ships and experienced crews. This would not be an easy fight. But as she looked around her bridge, she saw only determination on the faces of her crew. Hegemony fleet, this is Admiral Chen. Let me tell you a story. 8 years ago, one of your target worlds sent a small science ship to rescue my crew when we were stranded. They risked their lives for strangers, asking nothing in return. Today, humanity returns that favor. Final warning, withdraw now or face the consequences. Korthak's laughter echoed across the communication channel. You humans are fools. You risk your entire fleet for a few worthless gardeners. We outnumber you and our ships are superior. You're wrong about the numbers, Sarah said calmly. And you're wrong about their worth. All human ships, attack pattern Omega. Protect the Thalorians. What happened next would be studied in military academies for generations. The human fleet moved with perfect coordination, as if 800 ships were controlled by a single mind. Fighter squadrons swarmed around hegemony battleships like angry bees. Human destroyers used their speed to dart between the larger enemy vessels, striking at weak points with surgical precision. The carrier Vigilance launched all 4 of her fighter wings simultaneously. 300 small, fast human ships overwhelmed the hegemony's point defenses. The battleship Defiance charged straight into the enemy formation, her massive guns blazing. But it was not just the tactics that shocked the hegemony forces. It was the fury behind them. Human crews who had never met a Thalorian fought with desperate courage because they understood what this battle represented. They were defending the idea that kindness should be protected. "Remember Thylos," became the battle cry echoing across human communication channels. Pilots who should have retreated pressed their attacks. Damaged ships that should have withdrawn kept fighting. Admiral Korthek watched in disbelief as his superior numbers meant nothing against the human assault. His ships were being torn apart by enemies who fought like their lives depended on it. "All ships fall back," he ordered. Reform at coordinates. His command was cut short as the Terrace Pride's main guns found their target. Korthak's flagship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, taking the hegemony admiral with it. The battle lasted only 3 hours. When it was over, the hegemony fleet was scattered and broken. 73 enemy ships had been destroyed. The rest fled into hyperspace, carrying news of their defeat back to hegemony space. The human fleet had paid a price. 31 ships lost, over 1,000 crew members dead. But they had saved their friends. On Thylos Prime, Dr. Vexai stood in the council chambers, watching the battle through their long-range sensors. Elder Morthus wept openly as they saw human ships dying to protect Thalorian worlds. "They came," Elder Kassiri whispered in amazement. "They all came." Hours later, Sarah stood on the bridge of Terra's Pride as it approached Thylos Prime. The planet was beautiful. Green continents covered in vast gardens. Cities that looked like they had been grown rather than built. Dr. Vexai's face appeared on the main screen. The elderly Thylorian looked older than ever, but their eyes shone with gratitude. "Sarah, my dear friend," they said, "what you have done, how can we ever repay this?" "The same way you repaid me," Sarah said, "by being the kind of people worth saving." The victory of Thylos sent shockwaves across the galaxy. News spread quickly. Humanity had assembled the largest fleet in galactic history to protect a peaceful species that could offer them nothing but friendship. Within weeks, species across known space began requesting meetings with human ambassadors, not to negotiate trade deals or military alliances, but to ask a simple question: what does it take to earn humanity's protection? Sarah found herself appointed as the first director of the Terran Protection Council. Her job was to evaluate species that wanted humanity's friendship and protection. The requirements she established were simple but profound. Demonstrate genuine compassion towards someone from whom you expect no reward. Show that you will help strangers in need, not for profit or advantage, but simply because it is right. The Chun Doctrine, as historians would later call it, transformed galactic civilization. Species began competing not for military strength or economic power, but for the chance to be declared protected friends of humanity. Pirates found their hunting grounds shrinking as more worlds came under human protection. Slave traders discovered that attacking protected friend species brought swift and devastating retaliation from human fleets. The hegemony once unstoppable in their expansion, found themselves faced with a wall of protected worlds backed by human military might. Their advance stopped dead. Years later, Sarah visited Dr. Vexhai one final time before the old scientist passed away. They sat in the same garden where they had walked during Sarah's first diplomatic visit, watching alien flowers bloom under twin suns. "Do you ever regret helping me on that moon?" Sarah asked. Dr. Vexhai's long face showed the ghost of a smile. "How could I regret the decision that taught the galaxy the value of kindness?" They paused, watching a group of young Thylorians playing with human children who had come to study on Thylos Prime. "You humans have given us something we never knew we needed," Dr. Vexhai said. "The knowledge that we are not alone, that somewhere in the dark, friends are watching over us." Sarah nodded. "And you gave us something just as precious, proof that kindness still matters in a dangerous universe." When Dr. Vexhai died peacefully a few months later, their funeral was attended by representatives from 47 species. But the largest delegation came from Earth. The memorial plaque placed in their honor reads simply, "Dr. Vexhai of Thylos Prime. They helped a human." Years later, an entire fleet responded to the call. Under those words was a smaller inscription in both human and Thylorian languages. "One helps when one can." No debt exists between friends. But humanity had proven that some debts transcend friendship itself. Some acts of kindness create their own gravity, pulling in responses that reshape the universe. And in a galaxy that had grown dark with war and conquest, that made all the difference.